I do feel incredibly privileged to have the opportunity to be sat in rooms like this and hear these stories. I just think that's a fucking lesson that everybody needs to hear.
I think I'd encourage people to just take a step back in their lives and actually think about, if life was taken away from you tomorrow, what would be important?
We can all strive for success and, you know, the materialistic things that we chase sometimes, and the recognition and all of that sort of stuff, but actually this is the meaningful work that we can do, and to put our backgrounds, careers, resources, contacts, experience, time towards something like this that has the opportunity to do something good, then why would we not? My personal values of trying to help people and enabling other people to join me on this fucking wild journey that I found myself on, doing this sort of stuff. Why do you want to do that? Why do you want to live longer? And for us, the whole mantra is not about living longer. It's about spending the days that you are here for, living life to the fullest.
I think one of the things with imposter syndrome as well is like you try and do everything because you don't want to look like you don't know anything. But actually, if you go to the experts and lean on them and say, right, what can you teach me and what can you teach me? My therapist actually gave me one of the best analogies on this.
My win of the day, but I've saved that hour and a half by doing that. So is anybody else's mood directly correlated to the weather at the moment? Because same. I'm going down to London today, my second home, for a content shoot. Bit of a different one today because we don't start till midday, which is Marks and Spencer's cookies for when I get back. And I'm ravenous because it's going to happen. I think it's going to be a late one today, given that we don't start until midday. So I'm actually really looking forward to today, and it's something I've been asking the Jolt team to do for what feels like an eternity. So I've been wanting to launch an ambassador scheme for Jolt for a little while now. We know that Lindsey and Russell drive a great amount of revenue, but I want to bring in other people's faces. And obviously, running an influencer agency, it's the natural thing that I would want to introduce. So we are rolling that out today. And what's even more special is the first ambassador that we're going to be working with. It's somebody who I met way back in like 3 lifetimes ago for me. His name's Jord Adams. I will pop his handle up here somewhere when we're editing. And Jord and his brother really sadly lost their mum in 2016, I want to say, don't quote me on that. Now, as a one parent child myself, after losing my dad at the age of 11, anything like that always sticks in my mind. It's that like club that nobody wants to be in, but when you find somebody else who's lost a parent and you get it, you're instantly drawn to them. So Jord's mum really sadly died of a form of Alzheimer's dementia known as FTD, and Jord very bravely decided to get the gene test, and sadly shares the gene with his mum, and also later on down the line they found out his brother had got it, which means there is, I don't know if it's a certain chance or a very high chance, but Jord will get dementia probably in his 40s the same way his mum did, which is just heartbreaking. But what I love about Jord's outlook is that he would say it's given him a license to live, and he wants to, one, help others with that kind of mentality and mindset, and two, and most importantly for them, raise as much money as they can for Alzheimer's research. Now, for anybody who is familiar with Jolt and the work that we do, Jolt is a supplement that effectively slows down the aging process, and we get comments and questions regularly around, why do you want to do that? Why do you want to live longer? And for us, the whole mantra is not about living longer. It's about spending the days that you are here for, living life to the fullest. And the way that we would try and explain this, and the analogy that we would give is, would you rather be person A or person B? Person A being somebody who lives until they are 80, but they spend the last 15 years of their life uncomfortable in their body, aches and pains, living a slower, much slower life, to the point where they're probably either spending their final years in a armchair in their living room, not getting out and waiting for their family to come and visit them, or maybe spending their final years in a nursing home or a care home because of the ailments and conditions and uncomfortability that they have in their body? Or would you rather be person B, who still lives till they're 80 years old, but stays active in their final years, is out and about, living life, enjoying their retirement, making the absolute most of it, but has a faster decline in the final years before they unfortunately then die? And that's where we want to be at. It's not about extending your life, it's the years that you are here for, making the most of them, and the word that explains that is health span. Now, that shares a very similar concept to Jord's outlook on life. He just wants to make the most of the years that he's here for, have the absolute best time whilst he is. Unfortunately, and it's heartbreaking, but the chances are that he will sadly die in his 40s. But at least he will have made the most of the time that he is here for. And that's what we're championing for with Joel, which is why I wanted to get him in as our first ambassador. He's got an incredible story to share. From a creative perspective, he is one of the best storytellers I know. And therefore, bringing him on board with this plays into my personal values of trying to help people and enabling other people to join me on this fucking wild journey that I found myself on, doing this sort of stuff. But also from Jolt's perspective, we are about giving back and supporting others, and this just feels like a really natural collaboration for us, that we can support Jord with his fundraising activities, you know, support him. He's stepped out of full-time work to fundraise full-time, so help him fund his life as well. So I'm really, really excited for today. Looking forward to hearing more about his story. I've been speaking to Lindsey and Russ about Jord for a little while now, so I know that they're excited to meet him as well. So yeah, that is what we are going down for, and I'm hoping that we'll do a couple more of these over the next few months, and that it grows into something much bigger for us in terms of our kind of ambassador program and the types of people that we work with. And I don't actually know if you can even hear me, because it is absolutely lashing it down right now, and if I get to London without looking like a drowned rat, it's going to be a miracle. So we've arrived, set up, and Lindsey and Russ have got stuck in traffic, so I'm just going out to do the coffee run now. I've left Mark Howe, our videographer, playing PlayStation in the apartment. We're running a little bit behind now, but we'll manage to catch up the time, I'm sure.
Probably wondering why you've got a comedian and an entrepreneur running a longevity brand interviewing you about it. I think people understand, when people hear the word longevity, they think it's about number of years on the planet. I really admire what Brian Johnson does in his Science, the geezer in the oxygen chamber on Netflix, but I think it fails to understand what a good life really is. And at Joel, I always say, whether you live 30 years, 60 years or 100 years is irrelevant if your health span, the quality of life you're pulling from those years, isn't maximised. Now there's loads of ways to do that. You've had the ultimate way of doing it. You've been given a deadline. But it's weirdly made you probably live more life in the years you're going to get than you would had this not happened to you. Is that an overstatement, or do you think that's fair?
No, I don't think that's an overstatement at all. I think, you know...
But this is what people are going to find shocking. Yeah. So you're living more, and probably will end up living more, than people that live till 90, whatever that means.
100%. I think, you know, something me and my brother touch on a lot is that the perspective that it's given us, that, you know, time here isn't, you know, it's finite. You know, I think I often get quoted saying time is the most precious commodity that we possess as human beings, and I genuinely believe that. You know, no one knows what's around the corner, and to be given this news has definitely changed our perspective on all sorts of things in life, the jobs that we do, the getting ourselves into mortgages, or, you know, things that tie you up for ages or don't bring you happiness. You realise things that are kind of mean the most to you or bring you the most joy.
But doesn't it blow your mind that everyone else who doesn't have familial frontal lobe dementia live their life as though they're immortal?
And they're also on autopilot as well.
Well, in fact, we're all in exactly the same situation. The number's kind of irrelevant if you're doing all those things you just described.
But it's funny you say that, actually, because about 6 months ago I was travelling back from London. I was leaving Marylebone Station and it was late at night, it was about 7 p.m, and I looked around the station and I saw so many miserable people, and I was stood there with my diagnosis, knowing everything that I've been through and thinking, what are you all chasing? Like, I'm sure you've all got families at home, you've all got stories of your own, heartbreak of your own, but like, what is it that you're all chasing? You know, what I don't understand it. I don't understand people chasing monetary value in things. I don't understand it getting caught up in the rat race of the 9 to 5 and climbing career ladders. For me, life for me is all about people and places, interactions with human beings, trying to give back in ways that you can. And I'm lucky, don't get me wrong, I'm lucky that I was given, I guess, such a rubbish hand that I've now got that outlook on life. And I appreciate that not a lot of people get that.
But how can your story help us and everyone else? That is your greatest gift, to teach that energy to other people.
I think it's hard because ultimately I might sound quite arrogant coming across like that, saying, oh, then do I do 9 to 5? Ultimately, people have responsibilities, people have children to look after, a roof to keep over their heads.
You're not talking about that. You're talking. I understand what you mean. Like, the people are constantly either on the phones or they're chasing.
Numbing.
Yeah, they're just numbing basically. And so, what would you say to them? Like, if you're looking, if you hear somebody and they don't know your story and they're complaining about things, or it's all about material wealth or whatever, what would you say to those people who are on autopilot?
It's quite hard, but I saw a video the other day from David Goggins, actually. It was just like, what if? And it's what if you didn't make certain choices in your life, or what if you did make certain choices? I look back to getting that diagnosis, and imagine if I slumped into a life of not really doing anything. What sort of kind of memory would that be for my mum or for my family if I wasn't to go and live any sort of life? And I think we all have choices, and I think a lot of us are scared to make those choices because we think that we have to keep up with kind of the latest trends, or worry too much about what other people think of us. But most of us, once you make that leap or you do something that actually makes you feel good, what if I never shared my story openly as I have done since 2018? Would I be sat here chatting to Russell Knae and his partner about something which is really quite exciting when it comes to longevity, as you talked about? So I think I'd encourage, it's really hard to articulate, but I think I'd encourage people to just take a step back in their lives and actually think about, if life was taken away from you tomorrow, what would be important? Would it be the job that you've got? Would it be I don't know, that car that's sat on your drive? What is it that, if everything was taken away from you tomorrow, that you would try and make the most out of?
Good evening. I told you it was going to be a late one today, didn't I? Just got back to the station. Oh, today was heavy. Oh, I don't know how to start with this after today. I feel like I haven't fully unpicked my own thoughts after that session, that shoot, whatever you want to call it. I think I said this morning on my way in that I am naturally drawn to people who share the experience of losing a parent in either your childhood or early adult life, because it's not something that you expect to happen or would wish upon your worst enemy, and to try and navigate life without both of your parents is really fucking hard, and there's not many people that get it. So to hear Jord's story in detail today, and as I say, I've been aware of his story and what he's faced with, but to hear it today in person in more depth in a long form interview, because I've not had that opportunity before to hear it, to know that he's not only navigating the loss of his mum, but then faced with the horrific news that it is a 99.9% certainty that he will die in his late 40s, early 50s from the same thing that took his mom. I just can't even fathom, for him, for his family, everyone around him, how that news is processed. But then to hear his outlook on life and how he truly lives in a way that maximises the time that he's spending, how selective he is with the people he spends time with, and the choices that he makes, and just his outlook on life was just incredible. Russ asked him towards the end of the interview if he was faced with two doors. In fact, I'm going to insert the clip in here so that you can watch it.
I'll ask you a really tricky question. You don't have to answer it, we can cut it out. I've got to ask you this. If there were two buttons on the wall and one, you would go back to who you were, there'd be none of this dementia diagnosis in your life at all, but you wouldn't change your personality, you would live the person you were before, and the other button is who you are now, living life to the max. Which door would you take?
I'd take the one that I'm in now for sure. There's no question in my mind. Just because, as much as I think off the bat that sounds like, wow, you wouldn't change diagnosis. Look, I'd love to change my diagnosis 1,000 times over.
Of course.
But the lessons that it's taught me and the person that I feel I've become and being able to particularly live a life that I can confidently say that my mum would be proud of, but also I feel like my mission has been all along to build a legacy that outlasts my time here on earth. And alongside my brother too, and I feel like we're building that, and that there's not many people, and I don't want this to sound arrogant, but there won't be many people that a lot of us die and then we're dust, or we're never spoken about again. But I intend to build such a strong legacy and such a strong kind of story out of all the adversity we've been through, that people talk about the FTD Brothers for a long time. But more than that, we'll continue to positively impact lives long after we're here, whether that's giving hope to families who are living with dementia, supporting young carers who are living with a mum or a dad who are living with dementia, and that's the way that I intend to have an impact in the world. And me and my dad always talk about there's no such thing as coincidence. Now it's a bit spiritual, but I think we're all here for our different reasons. And yeah, look, I'd love circumstances to be different, but with my circumstances, I feel like we're playing the best hand with the cards that we got dealt. And yeah, I'm super proud of that, and for the person that I am, and not just me, but for everything that it's taught my family and that who we are. I wouldn't change that in so many ways.
Incredibly. I didn't even think you would answer that question. There was no hesitation there.
To answer with no hesitation, with such clarity and confidence in what he was saying, that he wouldn't change his situation, and between the two options he would take his diagnosis every day. I just think that's a fucking lesson that everybody needs to hear. And why do we wait for something catastrophic to happen to grab life with both hands and just live every day loving what we do, and to be more mindful about the choices that we make? And yeah, it was a lot to listen to, but I do feel incredibly privileged to, one, have the opportunity to be sat in rooms like this and hear these stories, because you can't not be touched by them in some way and it have an impact on you. But two, be in a position to help other people share their stories, and bringing people up with me has always been a value that I prioritise and really live by, because I just think, I remember the first person who took a chance on me and helped me get my foot in the door into a venue when I was trying to break into the events industry and stuff, and how important that was for me. And I recognise the position of privilege I am in now, and want to help other people do the same, whether it's creating opportunities for my team, whether it's my influencers that I work with, or just people that I meet, or stories that I encounter online. That's my purpose when I turn up to work every day, and helping other people with that is really important to me. So to be able to connect the dots between somebody that I met, God, I don't even know how many, over 10 years ago, at the sideline of a football match through an ex that, you know, I have nothing to do with him anymore. Like, he's not a part of my life as it is today, and, you know, he's moved on with his life as well. But to be able to connect those two walks of my life and bring Jord into a room with Russell, who has, you know, a prominent audience, and the ability to help Jord tell his story and have an impact for the charity that he's raising money for and all of that sort of stuff, like that means a lot to me. And yeah, today was heavy but amazing, and there were some conversations that took place mid-interview off camera afterwards about how me and Russ are going to try and team up together to create some opportunities for Jord and his mission. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? You know, we can all strive for success and, you know, the materialistic things that we chase sometimes, and the recognition and all of that sort of stuff, but actually this is the meaningful work that we can do, and to put our backgrounds, careers, resources, contacts, experience, time towards something like this that has the opportunity to do something good and great, then why would we not? So let's see how that unfolds over the next few weeks, few months, etc. And yeah, a wholesome, emotional, reflective day. And I'm looking forward to going home, giving my other half a big hug, my dog's a big hug, and yeah, just being grateful for what we've got. I think it's so important, I'm going off on a tangent now, but I think it's so important for everybody to hear that story, but actually to hear a male be so vulnerable with his feelings and experiences, and yeah, it's important. And I think what Jord is doing is absolutely incredible, and he will help so many people. And yeah, I'm proud to have been part of today. That's where I shall leave it for today. What am I doing tomorrow? I have got a strategy session with one of our influencers. We've got our every 2 week creator call where we'll all come together and just have a pause and reflect on how we're feeling and all of that sort of stuff. I have got a call hopefully with Russell and one of my team, because we're going to be helping him with some of his bookings, brand work, comedy stuff, organisation, let's say. What else have I got tomorrow? I think I've got check-ins with my team, and then I have therapy tomorrow night. That is my Thursday night routine, so I can go and unpick all of this that I've been experienced to today and go and mull it over with a therapist. And then Friday, I'm working on a client's website on Friday morning, and then Friday afternoon I'm taking the team out. We're going to Herbert's Yard, which is like imagine a giant shed. I'm really selling this. Imagine a giant shed that does have heating, it is warm, it has a bar, and around the outside of it you, like, basically street food vendors pull up. It's different people every week, and a bit like Box Park, that sort of vibe, but local. And half the team haven't been, half the team have been and loved it. It's within walking distance from my house, and we're just going to do a Friday afternoon social, bit of a pause through this mental month of November, and just have a good afternoon of socialising and catching up and leaving our laptops on Do Not Disturb for a couple of hours. So I'm really looking forward to the end of this week. Over and out. This morning has been the best example of like trying to double up on my time that I've had in a long time. On Friday I arranged for all of our creators to have a guided workshop with a operations expert to help them with time management and productivity through this busy season that we find ourselves in at the moment. And I unfortunately couldn't make the call. We have got our bi-weekly catch up with the whole creator team this morning, and I want to debrief on the call that happened last week, but I haven't actually listened to it myself yet. So I've been driving for half an hour and then had an hour's hair appointment, and then I've been driving for another half an hour. So I've been listening on the go, and I feel like I've just saved myself an hour and a half by doing that, because I can now go in, join the call, I've listened, I know exactly what's going on in that call, and I haven't had to do loads of different things at the same time because I've just been able to listen to it whilst I've been driving. And that, I think, is going to be my win of the day, that I've saved that hour and a half by doing that. So small wins, and mark them and note them. I've got 20 minutes now. I'm going to hopefully attack my inbox before the call starts, and then I am pretty much on back-to-back calls all day today. So I am doing them in my comfies with no makeup on, from the comfort of my kitchen, because there's no point me going into the office on a day where I'm not going to get the chance to speak to anybody in there, and I'll just be a distraction if I'm there on calls all day. So that is my day. Catch you later.
Yeah, life is just, as you all will be in the same, it's just manic at the moment, isn't it?
I don't know what day of the week it is anymore. I'm just coasting through life. Hey Chloe, you okay?
Hi. I just heard people say it's manic. I'm drowning.
Yeah, we're all in the same boat, I think. Did both of you join the call on Friday with Sneha, or have you caught up on it since?
Yeah, I did. It was really good.
Was it helpful?
Yeah. Yeah, she's great, isn't she?
Yeah, I've just caught up on it literally this morning because I couldn't join on Friday, but I've already got my shortcuts app on my phone ready to like play around with it and experiment and see what I can do to organise my life a bit better.
Yeah, I had no idea you could use shortcuts.
No, I didn't even know it existed, and it actually wasn't on my phone. I know it's an Apple app, but it offloaded from the phone, and I had to like re-download it back. So I reckon there's a lot of people that don't realise that even exists, because I certainly didn't.
It's like an AI assistant, isn't it? So it can like tell you what you've got coming up for the day. It's so good.
Yeah, I'm excited to start playing around with it.
For me, like I feel like I've got a lot of things in place, but it's more like the day-to-day. So she gave some really good advice to keep on track, and yeah, she was brilliant.
I think even for like general life organisation beyond what we do with work, there's some good stuff that we can all take from that with you know, planning our time.
Yeah, definitely. Stuff was really key, wasn't it? Like try and do all your filming in a day if you can, or 2 days, and then so you're not kind of here, there and everywhere wasted time. So
that 40% stat that she gave about productivity and time and stuff, I was like, do you know what, it's so true, but you just don't look at it and think like that. And then my brain instantly went to you girls who work on multiple creators and spend your entire day switching between accounts, and I was like, how can we streamline this for them? Like, how can we make life easier for the talent managers who are literally switching all day? And I know, because I've covered that inbox and I know what it's like. But yeah, it's interesting to think of it that way, isn't it? Good morning. We have made it back round to Monday once again. I've had the most relaxing weekend that I could have asked for, and I think I really needed it, because I've woke up with a new lease on life this morning. That and the fact that my first appointment this morning is 9:30 and I'm not in work for the next 2 days really, so I can't fully accredit that to the fact that I had a relaxing weekend, but it's definitely helped. I actually went to a sound bath last night, 6 o'clock on a Sunday evening. What a bloody good time to do it. And David came with me. He didn't love it. I don't think he'll be joining me again. He was like, I just don't get it, it's just noises. But I don't know, it must tune into like a particular part of my brain and just shut off all the noise. So I, hand on heart, haven't really thought about work this weekend, which is refreshing and needed. I'm off to have my lashes done now, and then I am going down to London. I'm taking my family with me this time actually. I have been nominated for an award, not the business but me this time, so I thought, oh, mum doesn't get to be involved in that much to do with the business or really see what goes on. So yeah, my family are coming down with me today. David's coming down, and then I'm taking my PA and her partner, as well. So I've got a bit of a crew around me. So yeah, lashes now, they're so overdue. I've had to book in for a full set rather than an infill because I just haven't managed to get an appointment in over the last couple of weeks. And then we're going to have a leisurely trip down. We're not rushing for anything to get down there for a particular time today. The awards start, I think doors open at 6, but we don't sit down till 7:20. So again, we're not going to be rushing too much whilst we're down there. And then tomorrow, I'm having the day off, and I'm just going to spend it in London, do a bit of shopping, spend some time with my mum and my stepdad and David, and yeah, that's really the plan. I am going to try and condense these vlogs in a little bit because we're still a few weeks behind from when I first started filming these because I was waiting for Kezia to start. But I'm only a couple of weeks away from New York now, which is going to be the most Christmassy vlog that you could ever wish to watch. And that's just not going to sit right if it goes out in January. So yeah, there might be a couple of weeks squished into these ones, but it's because I want to get New York out before Christmas. Why did I bite that? I never bite ice cream. We're good.
So it's dinner night tonight, so we're doing all the prep for this evening, which is really exciting. It's the last dinner of the year, and we've got Katy Leeson, who is going to be our guest speaker, and we're talking all things imposter syndrome. And another exciting thing that's happening tonight is I've got a guest coming. She's called Debbie, and I met her at a SmartWorks event, and where I was just talking about, you know, confidence, and this lady at the end asked, she put her hand up to ask a question, and she'd listened to me talking about the yes button and the events that we do and the dinners and what we're trying to do for women, and she put her hand up and she was like, well, I'm in my 70s, nearly 80s, and she said, what about women like us? She said, we kind of get, I feel like we get forgotten. She said, you know, all these events are targeted at young girls and new mums or women in business. She was like, but what about us? And she said, how do I get invited to something like this? So I thought, right, well, I've got a spare place, you can have it. So we're going to meet her later, so I'm really excited about that. We're going to ask her a few questions. So I'm here today with a lovely lady called Debbie, who I met recently at an event I was talking at.
And so I have always tried to do your idea of the yes, say yes, even if sometimes it's got me into trouble, or I've gone down the wrong path. And that's another thing, is taking paths. Sometimes you take a path and that's not the best for you, so you think, so I'm going to learn from that, I'm not going to go down that path again. And I think it is so important, like the lady who was speaking at Mottram, to say, not, oh, that was bad, that was wrong, to think, right, that might not have been the best for me, that. So what can I learn from that so I don't make that mistake again, or else I try not to make that mistake again.
And what's that saying? There's a saying, isn't they don't ask for permission, ask for forgiveness.
Yes.
And I believe that.
I was listening to a psychologist the other day, and she was saying, you know, don't think that your past is something you've got to think it's a dreadful thing. think of your past as something, your past should not define you, it should refine you. And I thought that was a fantastic saying, not to be defined by what's happened to you in your past, but it refines you, it makes you think about what you need to be. Because that's what we should be doing all our lives, trying to find the best of ourselves. Women, I think, are so hard on themselves. They really are. They are very negative about themselves very often. I know I was. You know, and I actually have got this thing now, which I do in my head, which somebody taught me, which is I have doors in my head. And each day I have a door. I choose whether it's a white door, a pink door, a brown door, a blue door. And I visualise the door, and I visualise the lock on the door. And then when these intrusive thoughts about, well, you're not good enough for you, I open the door in my mind and I put that thought in and I shut it and lock it. And if it starts to edge away, I go, nope, in the door, behind the door. And it works, it really helps. So it is difficult, and I think particularly when in their 20s and 30s we're just coming into having a career at the same time as running a home, probably having children or not, trying to run a relationship or not, you know. I would, if I had my time again, I would go back to my 50s.
Oh, okay, interesting what was going on in your 50s, because a lot of women, you know, as they're approaching 30s, 40s, 50s, the story that we're told is the older you get, the worse it is, and you know, and all these different things. So people fear. So what is it about the 50s?
It's not. You know who you are.
Okay.
You begin to really know who you are when you're 50, and that gives you strength and confidence. Really, I would say that to anybody. I felt much better in my 50s because I really knew who I was. I knew what I wanted to do with my life, and that gave me confidence. And the older I get, the more that feeling has been, although I don't like getting old particularly, because, you know, I like life and want to live life as long as I can and as much of it. But it did. I would go back to my 50s any day, because you are, once you've gone through the menopause, of course, you know who you are. You're much more grounded, I think, in that age.
And so I've got a question then. So I'm a huge believer of your surroundings and the people you mingle with are the most important, or one of the most important decisions you're going to make in your life, and it's about having that awareness of how people make you feel. You know, so you've described your husband as a legend.
Oh,
so legend Keith. I want to know about Keith. So how long have you been married, and what's your advice for
We've actually only been married. We've been married 4 years. We've been together 25, but we've been married for 4 years. I've not had a good record in the past, I think. But I'll tell you one thing I meant to say for giving advice about it. You cannot rely on other people in life to make you happy. They won't do it. Even if they love you and care about you, you must not rely on other people to make you happy. The only person that's going to make you happy in life is you, by following what you need to do and what you need to be aware of. Because whatever your circumstances in life, you have a choice. You can choose. You know, however difficult, and I've worked with young people who've been homeless, on drugs, whatever, you can make that choice.
For anyone that's in a relationship, what's your advice that makes a good relationship?
The reason I call my husband a legend is because he loves me for who I am. He doesn't try to change me. I can sometimes exasperate him or whatever. He is the only relationship I've had in my life, except for my dad, who just says that's how she is, and I love her for that. That's amazing that you've got somebody like that. Don't put up with less, and I have put up with less in the past, and I have been a people pleaser, and I think women are people pleasers, and rather than be on your own, you have a relationship that's not quite right. What happened when I met Keith was, and he was like that, is that I kept trying to find that piece of the jigsaw puzzle that would fit me. So when they didn't fit, I would go, I'll push this in a bit, oh right, well that's not right, but if I push a bit harder that might be right, but it didn't. But when I met him it went like that, and I knew then that you know what I had. But even now, you know, he would say that the only person who's going to make you happy is you. You have to really follow what it is you need to do in life, you've got to do in life. You can have good relationships, but they aren't going to make you happy. Yes, I have great happiness with Keith, and we have that, but you don't expect that's going to make you happy.
You have to find it within.
You have to find it within, because until you do, you can't be happy. If there's unhappiness inside, you have to find what is causing it, what is making you feel unhappy. and making the choices. And those might be difficult. It might be changing your career, it might be not having children, it might not having a relationship. But if it's that's making you unhappy, you have to change it. You only get one of these, you have to make the most of it. And you have that choice. And I think a lot of people think, oh, I haven't got that choice, but actually you have. Now, it's hard, it's difficult, you know, but in the end, it's the right thing, I think. Looking back, but that's how I feel.
Also lent on the team. I think one of the things with imposter syndrome as well is like you try and do everything because you don't want to look like you don't know anything. But actually, if you go to the experts and lean on them and say, right, what can you teach me and what can you teach me? My therapist actually gave me one of the best analogies on this. If you're buying a house, you don't try and do the job of a solicitor, the estate agent, the conveyor, all of those things. You let the experts do what they need to do. So why do we try and do everything? Why do we try and do that when we can build a team or find the people that can actually help you be better because they're going to help you get there quicker?
This is literally what we were talking about, me and Charlie today. We were talking about delegating, and when I first started businesses, people would say delegate as much as possible. I never understood what it meant. And I was like, well, I can't afford to do that because, you know, I may as well do it myself and save time. But actually, like you say, you don't know everything and you'll waste so much time and money trying to do everything and to be everything in your business.
The question is, maybe for everyone, I don't know, but what was your point of acceptance and how did you deal with it? So what was your point of, I've got this imposter's not going to go away, I've got to deal with the bitch. It's not going to go away. How did you get to that point of acceptance? And did you mentioned about values. How did your values help you get to that point of it? Because I think a lot of things are going to happen in life all of the time, aren't they? And it's a case of going, this is going to happen. I've got to trust that I will get through it and I'll deal with it. It's a lot of it is pure acceptance of the situation. So how do you get to that point of, I accept I've got an imposter? Did your values help with that? I suppose that was the...
Yeah, so mine pops up whenever it's something new, work related. So after I left Gary, I went to work for Nadine Marabi, and I did that I was going to do 3 months, I ended up doing 8. And I'd not worked in the fashion industry before. I'd done marketing, but never fashion marketing. And I went into that thinking, I have no clue what I'm doing here. I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't know where to start. The twist on the imposter is I know that that's an opportunity to learn, and one of my values is learning. So I try and really think about, like, I'm going to grow massively in this role. So that feeling of feeling uncomfortable is actually going to fuel my values, which actually gives me energy. So it's like, how do I take it? Because as I say, it never goes away.
It's that corporate churn of like the climb and always needing more to better yourself, and I think like the career world in general is toxic. And you do get stuck in a cycle. Like you join a job, it's almost going like this constantly, isn't it? Like you join the job, you have a high because you've got into that position, then you're proving yourself, so then you drop back down a little bit, and then you're kind of going back on yourself because you're new in the business and you've got to find your feet and find your purpose, and then you get comfortable with it, so then you start to climb back up again, but then you move to another job and then you go back round the loop again, and it's like
all we can do is apologise for this.
So basically, we were on the train, and then the train got delayed, and then the train got cancelled, and we don't know how we're going to get home. And now we're here.
Driving home for Christmas.
Yeah. So guys, we got a taxi.
Drivers right now.
We got a taxi, so it's all good.
We're safe.
We're on our way home.
It's all good for everybody other than the person who's paying for this.
Yeah.
About that.
You home in time for 5 p.m. If that's not dedication, I don't know what is.